Now we join our very own Geek Girl Scouts, Samantha, Grace, Mila, Dylan, Lily, Kaden, and Angie, for an open-ended conversation on LGBTQ topics in Girl Scouts, the media, and fandom. Samantha, our moderator, has short brown hair and glasses. Grace has long brown hair and is sitting in front of a window with vertical blinds. Mila also has long brown hair, is wearing a khaki scout vest and a Girl Scout cadet insignia. Dylan has short brown hair, glasses, and an asexual pride flag for her virtual background. Lily is wearing a green Girl Scout vest and is sitting in a pink room with a pride flag over the window. Caden is wearing glasses and has a hoodie on underneath his Girl Scout vest. And Angie has two-tone hair. One side is brown and the other is blonde. Thank you for joining our Scouts in this important conversation.
Hi, my name is Samantha Ayers. I am the moderator of Geek Girl Scouts Discuss LGBTQ+, an open-ended discussion with Geek Girl Scouts around LGBTQ representation and other topics. My name is Samantha Ayers. I am a Girl Scout alum. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm a moderator of this panel because my Girl Scout Gold Award helped me see myself, helps LGBTQ+ youth connect with LGBTQ+ adults with their stories. We're going to go around and introduce ourselves, give your name, your age level, and your pronouns. Mila, why don't you go first?
Hi, I'm Mila Tizzoni. I'm in 7th grade, and I'm a huge LGBTQ supporter. My favorite color is purple, and I love to draw.
Grace, why don't you go next?
Hi, my name is Grace Bell. My pronouns are she, her. I am 15 years old, a sophomore in high school. I really like the fandoms like Harry Potter and Marvel, Star Wars. I'm just really essentially a huge geek.
Angie?
Hello, I am Angie Shannon. I use she, her pronouns. I'm 15 years old. I like to draw, and I'm kind of obsessed with the band Tally Hall. I'm also a lesbian, and I play D&D with Grace on the weekends.
All right, Kaden, you're up next.
Hi, I'm Kaden. My pronouns are he, him. My favorite thing about Girl Scouts was going to this one camp over the summer called Twilight Camp, and I guess my favorite color is blue.
Dylan?
Hi, my name is Dylan Folland. I am 15 years old and a sophomore in high school. I really like talking about the things that I'm passionate about, and that's why I decided I wanted to be on the panel. And my favorite color is purple.
That's very nice. To finish up our introductions, we have Lily.
Hi, my name is Lily Mahon. I use the pronouns she, hers. I'm in 7th grade and I'm 12 years old. I really like to draw, and I guess my favorite color is purple too.
That's awesome. We're going to get right into the questions. So out of all of the out of all the shows and TV shows and movies you consume, what are some of your favorite characters that are LGBTQ+? We can even just raise your hand if you want to. For example, one of my favorite characters. Oh, Angie, sorry.
Can it be something that's not canon but is very it's obvious, but it's just not canon?
That is also allowed, yes.
Good. Because I would say, might sound like me being obnoxious, but I would say that Data and Geordi from Star Trek Next Generation are definitely homosexuals and in a relationship. It is very obvious. I don't know what they were thinking trying to make them straight.
It's so true though. What were they even thinking? I get that they were it's not confirmed, it's not canon or anything.
I get it was the 80s, but they're gay, Harold, get over it.
It reminds me a lot of Garrick and Bashir on Deep Space Nine, where they really badly wanted to make Garrick gay, but the writers wrote less and less scenes of him together with Bashir as the series went on, because
The
they had too much
homoerotic
chemistry.
tension between Picard and Q.
Oh my god. Star Trek Next Generation is just riddled with gems.
Oops, all
Does
gay.
anyone else? Does
And
anyone
nobody
else have any? Does anyone else have any LGBTQ plus characters they enjoy? Grace?
Sadly, I don't watch a lot of shows in which LGBTQ plus is adequately represented. But when I do watch is Runaways. It's a Disney Plus series, and I really like Carolina. I think her alien powers are super awesome.
Her and Nico together are absolutely adorable. As someone who has also watched Runaways. Okay, Lily?
This isn't really from a show, but in Animal Crossing New Horizons, Flick and CJ, they are roommates. And
They were roommates.
and when you talk to CJ about having one of the fish models made, he says my partner, and my mind has run wild with that. And it's just lovely.
Caden?
I don't know if you guys have seen Supergirl, but I know it has like Alex Danvers is gay, and I thought that was really well represented. And then there's actually the first ever trans superhero, which is Nia Nal, also known as Dreamer, and I thought that was pretty well represented too.
Mila?
So in the show Glee, there's Kurt, and he's one of my favorite characters throughout that entire show because of the way he stands up for himself in that certain show, and he tries to convince others around him in the end that it's okay to be gay.
Yeah, Kurt's awesome. He was one of my favorite characters too.
Are you happy overall with how the LGBTQ plus characters in the media you consume have been treated?
Depends.
Yeah, it really does depend on the show, on the character, whether or not being gay is like their whole thing.
Yeah. And also, like, this might seem like, I don't know, but also, like, as a lesbian, it's kind of like, and there are some lesbian relationships in the media where you can just tell this was written by straight men for straight men. It's like, no.
Can you think of an example of the type of relationship that's been like a lesbian relationship that's written by straight men for straight men?
I can't really think of any off the top of my head right now, any specifics, but I know like the vibe it has, where it's just like there's always these two very conventionally attractive girls only doing like, saucy stuff. And everyone's just like, it's sort of like, it's just not.
Right?
Yeah. And it's just like, there's so much, like, they're not really treated like real relationships. And this happens with a lot of LGBT stuff in the media in general, not just lesbians, of course, but it's just like, oh, it's the gays, and like, but what about the relationship? It's the gays. Aren't you happy?
Yeah, I feel like it's people are kind of seeing, like, major corporations are kind of seeing like being inclusive with the LGBTQ plus community as more of like more of a box to check rather than something that they actually, want to invest their time in, like this, like they would with the storyline itself.
Yeah, it's like
It's not forced representation, Carol. It's people existing.
It's like a marketing technique almost.
It's like, we'll make these poor little content-starved gays watch our show because that's all they've got. It's like, make a good show, then I'll watch it.
Yeah.
What about shows where like it's not explicitly said that they're in a relationship, they're just kind of like heavily implying that they're in a relationship called queerbaiting. What are your opinions on queerbaiting in the media? And
Quite
like
irritating.
characters implied to be LGBTQ plus but not confirmed, like LeFou in the Beauty and the Beast remake.
Wasn't that confirmed? Yeah, that was confirmed in the remake. Hello, Booker. I'm in a video right now.
But they couldn't say it. They couldn't say LeFou gay. They said in interviews that he was gay.
Yeah. I mean, that's a different thing than queerbaiting, because queerbaiting, I think, isn't queerbaiting just like, oh, they're not gay. They're not gay. But they do all of these very gay things with their definitely not partner, you know? Whereas it's just lazy, like, inclusion to call somebody gay after the fact, like the whole Dumbledore thing.
Yeah, but that's what they basically did with LeFou. LeFou's been coded gay for forever. They just kind of said it after the fact.
They just like tacked it on to make it inclusive, you know? Yeah. Like I would really, this is more me being a nerd, but you know, that's why we're here. This isn't really nerdy. Why did I say that? I need to shut my mouth, but okay. So you know how in the one Scooby-Doo show, the Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated, we know Velma and Marcy are gay. We know it. It's obvious. Like, and then that was like confirmed, you know, but it wasn't confirmed when the show was the show, you know. It was like, I get it. Like, of course there were so many like restrictions on what people could show and things, and you know, but even going back on that, why should there be restrictions? Like, oh no, I don't want my child to catch the gay. It's like, no.
Grace, do you have something to add?
Yeah, I kind of feel like, you know, shows and like Disney in particular, they just need to grow up and just like confirm whether they're gay or not as the show is being shot, because it's just kind of like dancing around it. It's not something that can, you know, continue. It doesn't really contribute to the character if you're just like tacking on them being LGBTQ after it's all happened. And as far as queer goes, like it's not like always, you know, as kind of nice as they did with like LeFou and Velma, like F. Scott Fitzgerald's The Great Gatsby, like when Nick Carraway, I think he was telling Tom Buchanan about Gatsby's Oxford qualifications. Tom literally said, like hell, he's an Oxford man, he wears a pink suit, which is probably some of the most insulting queer baiting that I've ever seen.
I do have to say something. We do have an officially confirmed LGBTQ plus person on an original Disney Plus show. Over the weekend, The Secret Society of Second-Born Royals came out, and the teacher to all the royals is played by Skylar Austin, and he literally introduces himself with, I have a boyfriend named Henry and an iguana named Jeff, and it's just never brought up again. But it's like that really casual type of representation. I was watching it and I was like, oh, I am entertained by this.
Honestly, like, I hate it when they make it like they either underplay it or overplay it, I feel. Like, they're either just like, oh, they're straight totally, or they're just like, these people are homosexuals and they are gay. Tell me about them. They are gay. You know?
Oh, it's like, he is much more than that. He can multiply himself.
No, I know. I'm not saying for that dude. I'm saying that that's the kind of representation that I like, where it's just a thing, you know, it's just a thing that happens. It's like, it's not a marketing thing, it's not a horrible thing to state explicitly, it's just like they're LGBT plus or something. I don't know, they're one of the letters.
Great.
No, shouldn't be a huge deal.
Yeah, I mean, adding on to that, it's also sometimes, you know, very exaggerated and kind of stereotypical, like Kurt from Glee. Still one of my favorite characters, but he was also like kind of a confirmation for gay stereotypes of being like fashionable and very, you know, kind of very artistic and like has a critical eye for style. It's like, okay, sure, you can, but that they have to understand that's not what all gay people like. That's not what all gay men act like and what they think and do.
Does anyone have anything else to add on the topic of queer baiting?
Not really. Sometimes it can be funny, but that's about it.
Funny in what context?
I don't know, just you look at how ridiculous it is, and well, I look at how ridiculous it is, and it's just funny to me how strangely it's being presented.
So when characters are LGBTQ plus, has it been in the media you've watched? Has it been done well, or has it been done terribly? Why don't we start with Caden, if you have something to add?
I think it varies between shows, because some shows are done really well and you can see the struggle but also the beauty in it, but then other shows you're just kind of well, that wasn't done very well and it kind of portrayed us terribly.
Can you give an example on either side of the spectrum?
Well, I know this really good one I could think of for portraying it really good was for Alex Danvers from Supergirl, because it kind of showed she didn't know that she was gay her whole life. She just had no clue. And then this girl just showed up and she had feelings for her, and the girl was like, "Hey, guess what? You're gay." And she's like, "No, I'm not." And then went through this whole denial phase, and then ended up telling her sister, and you just saw the struggle in it and the beauty and all this other stuff.
I can think of another positive end of the spectrum is David and Patrick from Schitt's Creek. That is one of my favorite shows. They represent kind of being pansexual, which is really not something that I've ever seen on a TV show before. I've seen being gay and lesbian, but I've never seen a pansexual person on TV, which is it's kind of interesting. And David is probably the best rose in the family. He's very resourceful, and he has he's a real character and attitude about him outside of his pansexuality.
Lily, do you have an example to add?
No, I can't think of anything.
Can you think of any shows where it was done really negatively, or they started out good and it went downhill?
Well, I can't think of it. Well, yeah, this is kind of different from what we're talking about, but in The Office, one of the episodes, Michael outs Oscar, but in a really obnoxious way. And I feel like that's negative because that's exactly what you shouldn't do.
Do you guys have a tendency to avoid media that has negative LGBTQ plus representation? If it isn't done well, you're not going to watch it?
I watch people complain about it on YouTube in 40-minute long videos, but I don't watch the actual media.
That makes sense. We need to set healthy boundaries for all of us. We're going to move on to a discussion of your school experiences, if that is all right. Everyone, how does your school and community around you react to the LGBTQ plus community?
I mean, my current school is chill about it, other than the offhand, that's gay, or you're so gay, or something like that, But then, that gets shut down a lot at my current school. And there was my old school. That was a whole other story. Yeah.
Mila, anything to add about your school?
My school, I don't think my school actually does anything for it. I don't think
it appears your internet is going out. You can type it in the chat if you want. Caden, anything to add about your school environment?
I feel
I don't know. I mean, to me, it seemed like we were pretty open about it. But then when I was hearing other people talk about how great their schools are, I was kind of well, maybe mine's not as great as I thought it was. Because, I mean, it's not bad. It's just, I've heard for trans people, they have to go use the nurse's bathroom. which is like furthest away from all of the classes because they can't use like the bathroom of their choice and they can't use the one that they were like assigned at birth. And so it's just this big thing. And then I do remember this one time at an assembly, there was like 2 openly gay kids and then like a couple of their friends. They were sitting in one of the bleachers and there was just this big like area around them, like where kids were just not sitting. And like you could just see them from like all sides of the gym because there was like these 4 kids and then a big open circle and then like the rest of the students around it and like just sitting in their spot. But I was like, well, that's all right.
I'm really sorry that that happened. Angie, do you want to share why you had a bad experience at your school, if you're comfortable with that?
Yeah, okay. I'll just keep it to the specific to this topic bad experiences because there's a whole plethora of bad experiences from that place. But so basically I backstory of Angie, I came out in 6th grade and I was like, hey, I'm gay. And then a bunch of my friends from this one class I was in were just like, oh, okay, and proceeded to uninvite me from every sleepover they had invited me to and never invite me to any of those again, and then talk trash about me behind my back, spread rumors about how I'm hitting on all the other girls in the choir, and yeah. And nobody wanted to be in the cabin with me at the choir retreat and, you know, all of that kind of, all that jazz.
I am so sorry that that happened to you.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, we had a GSA that I was in, and then the person left who ran it, and then they didn't let us have it for the first semester of the 7th grade. But then around the 7th grade, I just went back in the closet because I wanted to be invited to things again, and then I got a boyfriend and he was trash, so that was fun. But yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing your story, and I'm still so sorry that that happened to you.
Mm-hmm.
Milo, you said my school really hasn't done anything about it because my school kind of feels like they couldn't do anything about it without offending someone. Can you elaborate on that, if possible? Okay. Milo, did you hear what the question I asked, or would you like me to move along? Okay, Dylan has something to say. Sorry, Milo. Dylan, you were saying something?
I just wanted to go back to what Angie said a little bit. It's a little off topic, but I just hate it when people like when a girl comes out as a lesbian, all of her female friends are automatically like, ew, what do you mean? Are you like checking us all out? Like, how cocky do you have to be to assume that? No. That's not how it works.
Because it's like whatever you. Sorry, go ahead.
You never assume that the other way around. Why should that be different?
And it's like whatever you say to that, they'll still be offended because if you say yes, they'll be like, ew, that's so nasty. And if you say no, it's like, so am I not hot? Like, am I not attractive? It's like, what do you want?
Exactly. I actually never ran into that problem with any of my friends. I think it's just because I'm the mom of the group. Lily, have you had Lily, have you had any negative experiences at your school, or has your school been largely positive?
Well, other than the occasional ew, that's so gay, our school, fun story, at the beginning of 6th grade, so last year, our school did the huge assembly with like all of the clubs and stuff, you know, back when you can actually go in person to school, which is really shocking actually. But there was like a person from the ASB with a sign for representing each of the clubs. And when they got to the Pride Club, when they said it's for 8th graders only because it was at lunch, so like the lunch times affected it. I noticed around me a few 6th graders from my class just kind of looked around like, well, what the heck am I supposed to do then? So a month later, after talking to all my friends about it, seeing if they would be interested, I emailed the principal and asked, hey, I want to start Pride Club for the 6th and 7th grades. Would that be possible? And then 6 months later, the first meeting came out.
I'm happy you were able to enact change at your school. So do all of your schools have Pride clubs? Or just some of your schools?
My new school now has a GSA, and I joined it, and I'm going to be doing it on Wednesdays. So yeah, that's the thing.
Congratulations. Do you guys have any of the clubs you've been in enacted permanent change? For example, the middle school GSA that we have in my district. One of the middle school GSAs managed to pass an ordinance that pride flags are going to be flown over all city-based locations for the entire month of June. So City Hall, all of our rec centers, everything is going to have a pride flag during the month of June. Have any of your schools managed to do something similar to that?
I mean, I seem to recollect that someone had the head of the club, I think it was the head of the club, secured a pride flag and put it on our school flagpole, and it like wasn't only for the month of June. I think it was in March, February when this happened. So yeah, we got some change there.
What about gender neutral bathrooms? I've heard a couple of your experiences from how out of place / inconvenient they are. Do your bathrooms require passes? Like your gender neutral bathrooms require you to go get a pass from somewhere?
I mean, at my new school, they have it a lot better than my old school because basically there's a gender neutral bathroom right next to just the male and female bathrooms, you know, and there's like the only passes we have to do are just passes that have our names on it, you know, so it's like, yeah, it's pretty chill.
Yeah,
Grace, sorry.
Yeah, my school has 2 gender neutral bathrooms, one on the first floor, one on the second, and I don't even know if teachers even do bathroom passes, and if they do, it quickly dies out, just like you ask and then they say yes or no.
Mila says usually in elementary school they only have boys and girl hall passes, but they don't have an in between. So there are specifically labeled boys hall passes and girls hall passes, and there are no in between because there's the one boy and one girl out of the classroom at one time rule, which I find to be, you know, gendered and strange. Why isn't it just 2 people out of the classroom at one time? Why does it have to be one boy, one girl? Moving on to lessons and possible things you learn in school. Does LGBTQ plus history show up in your classes? Do you learn about it in any way?
Not history, really. The only LGBT education that I've had in school was just in sex ed class. Like, hey, gay people exist. Trans people exist. Let's talk about other stuff now. And that's it.
I haven't had any sex ed classes in high school yet, which is strange now that I think about it. But in middle school, we talked about LGBTQ plus stuff like for one day, and like not even a whole day. It was like half an hour, and then we talked about like AIDS and such. And in retrospect, that was kind of weird.
Had the exact same experience as Dylan. That's interesting.
The experience I ran into was AIDS was always discussed outside of the context of the LGBTQ plus community. Like we have an AIDS prevention club that just doesn't talk about AIDS in the queer community at all, which I find to be very interesting. Do the books you read in English classes, are they written by LGBTQ plus authors, or do they come with LGBTQ plus characters? I know The Great Gatsby is a required reading in some districts.
It's just a bunch of old books. I don't know if it's like LGBT people or not. It's just like old and kind of irrelevant.
Because I read The Color Purple in 9th grade, so I was wondering if like you guys read similar books, or if my district is just way ahead of the time.
The Color Purple?
The Color Purple has a lesbian relationship in it. I guess not. I feel like that ties back into compulsive heterosexuality. Shall we talk about that for a couple minutes? That's like feeling pressure constantly to do things that are straight, and that anything outside of straight is not normal. Have you guys ever dealt with compulsive heterosexuality?
I hate to be the first. Oh, you go ahead, Grace.
No, you go.
I hate to be the first person to talk again, but I was in a really not good, not fun relationship with a dude for a year because I was like, I gotta be normal. So I dumped my girlfriend and was like, hey, you're a dude and I'm a girl. Well, he asked me out, and then I was like, now I have to leave my girlfriend because to be normal. And it was just trash. And then I was with him for a year and it was awful.
I mean, I've never really had the experience of like having that happen to me or seeing it happen. But I've kind of wondered, like, what exactly defines a straight thing? What is, like, why is that gender? What makes that a girl thing? What makes that a guy thing?
Kaden, do you have anything to add?
I was trying to think of things like if I've ever done anything like that, and I don't think I have.
But have you ever like witnessed society really pushing heterosexuality as the norm, and anything else as different?
I mean, kind of. Like, I mean, with my school a little bit. But I guess that's about it.
Because I know our school for homecoming has gender requirements for how many boys and how many girls have to be on a team for homecoming competitions, but yet we don't have a gender requirement for homecoming court, which is strange because it's compulsive heterosexuality in one category but not in another. You know, it's either all or nothing in cases.
Well, I mean, I can think of like one compulsion. I can talk. When compulsive heterosexuality is like, it's very represented in the media, as like in a lot of commercials, like in I think particularly medication ones. There's like if there's like a wedding, then it's always a straight wedding, woman and a man getting married. Like I've never seen like a gay wedding ever in my entire life of watching commercials. I've never seen
I've seen one gay wedding. It was a Hallmark ad, and Hallmark pulled it because of backlash. It was an ad. It was a lesbian couple making a wedding website. That was the ad.
I've seen like in an ad, it's always for like anti-STD pills, and that's always where I see the gay people in advertisements, and nowhere else.
So it's always being connected to like diseases or being sick.
Yeah, that's not cute.
I guess we can talk if we're on the concept of advertising and talking about LGBTQ plus people in advertising, rainbow capitalism, which is corporations being pro LGBTQ plus for like 1 month out of the year, and that month is always Pride Month. What types of rainbow capitalism have you guys seen around your places of living?
I mean, I've seen like ads on like Snapchat, or like if I'm on Amazon on a rare occasion, I'm gonna see like, like Pride T-shirts, or like I think like there was like a Pride ring or something like that, and like it came July and I never saw them again.
Lily, you have an example?
It doesn't, like, on your phone, if you have like Spotify or Reddit, they don't always change the app icons, but they change it inside the app. And then like on Instagram, famous huge companies will change their picture to have a little rainbow in it. Then the second midnight July 1st, it's back to normal.
Also, like, back when things were not pandemic-y, at Pride parades, think about how many corporation floats there are and stuff.
At the Seattle Pride last year, Comcast had a float that was the Stonewall Inn, with a giant Stonewall sign. I just thought I should put that out into the universe. I think it's a bit weird that corporations are co-opting moments
Yeah,
of LGBTQ plus
it's whack.
justice.
I hate it. It's like, this is not for y'all to make us want to buy your stuff. This is for just us to be proud of who we are. Like, dial back on the capitalism for like 2 seconds.
My thing is, if you're not going to walk in a Pride parade, just bring a bag. You'll get free stuff. That's legitimately what I did before I was walking in Pride parades, was I just got free stuff. The weirdest item I was ever handed at a Pride parade was a bride and groom bubble wand. Bartell Drugs was handing out these little like white bubble wands, and it said bride and groom on the box. Like, they could have thought about it a bit more before they put the boxes out there to be visible.
Who's using bubble guns at their wedding? Like,
yeah, that was also my thought.
Wands? You're not gonna get a whole lot of bubbles out of that.
They were like this big, and they were white. So sometimes corporations just give out weird things at Pride. Lily? Nothing to add from Lily. Have you guys ever been to a Pride parade or Pride in general?
Yeah, I was in a Pride parade in 2017 and 2018. But I wasn't supposed to be in it. I wasn't supposed to be walking in it in the 2018 one. But I thought that my school was still doing the same thing it did last year, and I was just like, oh, and then I realized like halfway through that I wasn't supposed to be there, but I didn't say anything about it.
I marched in a Pride parade like forever ago. I forget what year it was even. I marched with P-Flag in like Duval or something. It was so long ago that I don't even remember where it was. I just remember that it happened.
Mila wanted to add that on the Amazon website, they advertise things for Pride Month, but most of the time they're like half off or 10% off because they know people are going to buy them. So they get money, but they probably don't donate it to charity or to other LGBTQ plus organizations. Okay. Can rainbow capitalism be good?
I mean, oh, go ahead. Once it starts being good, it stops kind of being rainbow capitalism, Because that, in my opinion at least, because it's like, if you're like donating your stuff, and if you're like trying to make it a good cause, like for an actual cause, not for your company's gain, then it sort of stops falling under that label because it's not the same thing anymore.
Because like rainbow capitalism is like you're kind of mutually benefiting. Like you're benefiting actually twice over, because you're like, you can say like, oh yeah, we celebrate Pride Month, we fully support the LGBTQ plus community, and at the same time, you got money that you're getting from these new designs, presumably designs. I'm generalizing here, that you can just put in your back pocket, which, yeah, like Angie said, it stops being capitalism once you kind of aren't using the money and giving it away.
Dylan, you have something to add?
Not really. I was just thinking to myself that it's kind of funny that it stops being capitalism once you're actually doing something good with it.
Says a lot about capitalism.
Yeah.
Speaking of Pride and Pride Month, should we talk about allyship and what it means to be an ally? Do y'all have tips for what you can do to be a good ally to someone?
I guess just like trust people that they know themselves, you know? Don't like this goes with like sexuality, gender, all that stuff. Like, don't be like, oh, are you sure? Like, do you know for sure? Like, just respect what they're most comfortable with in the moment. And if that ends up changing, don't invalidate what it was before, you know?
Yeah. I would also recommend for allies, if you're referring to a trans person or somebody who has changed their name or pronouns, if you mess up, just fix it. Don't make like a huge deal out of it, because then it's just going to be embarrassing for everybody involved, and like people are going to be like, whoa, and it's just going to suck. So just fix it real quick and be done with it.
You feel like
Also,
educating
just a thing that a lot of people don't really understand is that you don't have to understand something to respect it, you know? You don't have to understand everything about this person's sexuality or this other person's gender, but you can still respect how they would like to be addressed or how they live their lives, you know? They still want to be respected. So it's like, just because you don't get it, just because it's not your thing doesn't mean that it's not valid, you know? Like, get over yourself, basically. That sounded rude. I didn't mean to say it like that. I'm sorry.
Great.
Some advice I would give, and I'm saying this as a straight cis woman, but I would say like learn as much as you can about allyship and about the history of the LGBTQ plus community, because knowledge is probably the best weapon you can have, and you can use it in so many good ways. You can like share it with people who are, you know, at some point like crossing over the line or misspeaking, but it's also like so you can get as close as you can to kind of understanding whoever you're close to who is part of the LGBT community, that you can understand to the best of your ability what they're going through and like how you can support them.
Yeah, and also another thing is like, don't be afraid to like call people out when you know that they're being like, you know, homophobic or like transphobic or something. Like, even if you're not part of those communities or anything, like, don't be afraid to stand up. Like, you got to stand up for the people who are impacted to be able to be an ally. You know, you have to like have the ability to stand up for the people who really like, yeah, that's what I can words. I'm so concise.
Mila says for me, because I have a lot of experience, I have a lot of LGBTQ plus friends that I do end up standing up for them a lot because people will give them mean looks or talk about them behind their backs. But some other people say that they feel kind of uncomfortable around LGBTQ plus people, but they're humans too. It's not like they're aliens from a different planet. We are all humans, so treat them like one, which I think is really, really sweet, Mila. Do you feel like it's important to educate your kids about the LGBTQ plus community at a young age?
Just, yeah. I mean, for seeing all those straight people, you know, like, I feel like representation should be like equal, and it shouldn't be made to be like, oh, these are the normal people and these are the gay people, or these are the LGBT people. Like, there's normal and then there's this other group, you know? Like, it shouldn't be like, oh, it's the other. It should just be like, you're a person, they're people. Y'all might like different things, y'all might not, but you're people, you know? I feel like that's how the education should be.
Yeah, I agree. It's absolutely necessary to educate like kids from a young age so they can like just kind of grow up with like this this idea of, you know, inclusiveness and how people in this world exist, and maybe they don't like the opposite gender, maybe they don't use the pronouns that they were given at birth, but they're still people and they still need to know to respect that and see it as normal.
Do you feel like children's media could play a really valuable, oh yeah, Lily, sorry.
I also think that this kind of goes along with the theme of teaching your kids from a young age. They should also normalize LGBTQ sex ed in schools, because there's always that, how do I say this without saying wrong? There's always that group of LGBTQ kids who feel like unrecognized and ignored because they only learn stuff about straight people.
I totally understand that. Do you feel like, going back to the education of younger children, do you feel like media for kids is playing a really big role in helping teach children that everyone is different?
I mean, yeah, like they're already sort of starting to do that, you know? But like, it'd be nice if like way bigger like things, like if Disney made like a princess movie that had like LGBT characters in it, you know, because that's like a big thing that a lot of kids watch, you know? Like not every kid is gonna be watching like a lot of the shows that are out that are about like, you know, that have LGBT characters in it. But like if as much as I really don't like big corporations, and as much as this could definitely play into rainbow capitalism, if like a really widely known, really famous studio like made media for kids that just casually included like LGBTQ plus characters, I feel like that would make a lot more impact, you know, and that would be helpful for the community and stuff.
Grace?
Yeah, it also might it might actually teach the kids about respecting LGBTQ plus community better if it was coming from the mouth of their favorite TV characters rather than their parents. Because if they think if it's from their parents, they might think, okay, this is just another lecture, another thing that I have to put in my head, and that I'm just gonna, you know, throw away and let it gather dust. But if it's like coming from, you know, a show that you really like, and then you'd probably be more open to accepting it and kind of, you know, thinking it's awesome because you really like the show and you like the people and the message that it sends.
Should we, do you guys want to talk about your experiences as a member of Girl Scouts? And as a member of both Girl Scouts and the LGBTQ plus community together, or as an ally to other Girl Scouts? What have your experiences in Girl Scouting been because of the fact that you're LGBTQ plus?
I mean, I happen to be the laziest Girl Scout on the planet who never does anything other than these kind of things. So I guess I don't really know what the experiences as a Girl Scout are because I'm the one buying the cookies, not the one selling them, you know?
I mean, kind of like Angie, I'm not, you know, super, I haven't been to a ton of, as many as I should, probably Girl Scout events, but the ones I have been, when you're putting the topic of LGBTQ and you're including that variable, then it kind of seemed like Girl Scouts like pales a little bit in that field because like they're not particularly, they don't really talk about it is essentially what I'm saying. They don't really, you know, go over that topic in the events. And granted, this is like, I haven't like been to a ton of events that focus primarily on the subject of the LGBTQ plus community. And but it's still like not necessarily something that's brought up. It's just kind of, you know, it's a little bit of a ghost in the events.
I know the thing I run into at events and other like overnights, because I was one of the more intense Girl Scouts, was that all of the gay people would just end up hanging out in a corner together. Is that something any of you have experienced?
Yeah, but it was with school camp. where, oh, this was a thing. This is kind of off topic, but I feel like it's actually relevant. Where when I went to a camp in the 8th grade, and, you know, we, like, the people in the GSA, we wanted to have, like, a cabin for, like, LGBTQ people to just hang out, you know, and, like, we wanted to all be in a cabin. And the compromise was, okay, we'll put two queer people per cabin. Representation. It's like, we all, like, we wanted to have our own little community, you know, and then they're just like, let's sprinkle a little in there, sprinkle a little over there too, like, just, you get one other, and that's it. That's all you get.
Mila says that Girl Scouts has been a great experience for her because her troop is really open and accepting.
I mean, yeah, like when I came out to some of my friends who were in the troop, they were really chill, you know? They were just like, oh, okay.
Lily, you have something to add?
When I was, so in February, my troop went to River Ranch with a few 8th graders, well, one 8th grader and then some of our troop's older sisters, and me and the 8th grader and one other girl from our troop just kind of flocked all together and hung out like that for the most of the weekend. And she was bi, I believe, so we kind of all just flocked together, and then everyone else hung out in their own group and played horse games. So it was just kind of an experience. But like when I came out to my troop, they were all chill, and then at World Thinking Day we were doing Mexico, and me and a few other girls did it, like an entire poster board of like representation in Mexico and that.
Is there anything you think Girl Scouts could do better in terms of serving the LGBTQ plus community?
I think bringing it up, for one thing. I feel like the more you kind of bring it up, the more you talk about it, the more normal that it's going to become.
I feel like one really cool thing they could do is they could start making she/her patches, or like he, him, they, them patches that you could put on the front of your vest. Because I know technically pronoun pins, you aren't supposed to have any non-Girl Scout related pins on the front of your vest, but I've stuck a pronoun pin on every single Girl Scout related object I own. Is there any last things people want to add before we end this discussion towards any of our topics we've discussed previously?
I think Mila has something in the chat.
Yes, Mila says that she hangs out with a lot of LGBTQ plus people, and she loves it a lot. And half the time, she forgets that LGBTQ plus because they're just human like her, and they have fun together, which is really adorable. So no last minute things? Okay then, I guess we can end the discussion here. Thank you so much for coming to the Geek Girl Scouts Discuss LGBTQ+. Have a nice evening.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you.